Yeah, thank you. Uh, I hope I am also audible clearly and the presentation is visible to you. So what actually we'll look today is the something different. That is the IoT prototyping hardware platforms. As we know, even yesterday's lecture by Dr. Bausab Butre, he said that you should rigorously test your product in the lab itself. And whenever we test our product, then generally we go with first the prototyping, correct? So it is very important for any new product developer or the startups to start with the prototyping, because this is the step where we can verify your idea, we can test whether it is correctly working or not, and whether it is able to perform in the field or not, that we can test at the prototyping level itself. So this is the generally step people have at this stage uh, 2, because at the stage 1 generally we have a ideation is there, we collect the components, then we think about what type of your product should be there, what type of its functionality and features should be there, and then at the stage 2 we go for the prototyping. So we'll try to see some of the different prototyping hardware platforms that generally students and faculty members for the new startups, even most of the research institute they are using. I'll try to show you some of the good examples that you can procure from the market to make your some of the wearable devices, some of the uh, devices for your uh, different transportation and agriculture applications. So today I will try to discuss with the IoT technology stack, then smart connected systems, then what is the physical IoT architecture is there. Then I will try to provide you what are the different IoT hardware platform selections are there, what are the different criteria or the characteristics that we have to think about that can help us to select the different IoT hardware platforms. Then we'll try to see what are the different technical specifications are there that can help us to select different microcontroller development boards and the single board mini computers for your development of edge IoT devices and gateway IoT devices. And I will try to show you some of the examples which we can use or we can select for a particular application depending on its features and characteristics. So basically, the IoT technology stacks that I have shown here, we know that initially it comes with the IoT hardware device. As we know, it may consist of your product hardware and it may consist of your product software. Generally, as most of us already know about this part, that is the IoT hardware has the software and hardware. Generally, your hardware may consist of your sensors, processors, then we have a connectivity systems are there, we have a different some mechanical and electrical components are there. So that is what a complete hardware device that comes. So anything that we consider may have some of these components available there. Okay, and along with that there may be some software available, that may be your operating system inbuilt on your hardware, or there may be some onboard software application, just like for Arduino's, Raspberry Pis, we have operating system is there, as well as on Raspberry Pi we have operating system is there, as well as we have onboard software application is there. But in case of Arduino or your any other IoT boards, what we have there is a onboard only application is there. So we have to think about what type of product softwares are available there, and there different user interfaces which are available for your IoT hardware. Just like for Raspberry Pi and then BeagleBone or either Intel devices, we have some user interfaces already available. But in case of small scale STM microcontrollers or TI microcontrollers, or when we go for Arduino's or 8 mega microcontrollers, then we know that they have only onboard software application is there. We do not have any user interface is there. That user interface we have to again develop. Okay. The another part is the connectivity. So now what type of connectivity is available for your IoT hardware that we have to again think about. So just like as yesterday we have discussed with the Mr. Santosh Sankuji sir, that just like if you take an example of agriculture, and when suppose if you would like to develop an IoT hardware, then for your farm, so we know that generally most of the farms are away from your whatever say the villages or the urban areas, and then in that case what type of connectivity is available there that you have to think about, because it is not possible that you can directly have a ethernet cable over there and you can directly make an internet connection. So we have to think about what type of connectivity is there. So you may have a connectivity from your mobile phones, so and then we can have the internet connectivity to your IoT hardware, or there may be possibility that you can have the different connectivity devices that you can connect, just like the LoRa devices. Nowadays, we are having the LoRa devices which are coming up with even up to 10 kilometers of range. So if your farm is within that range, then you can go with such type of technology. So that again we have to decide here in the connectivity stack. Other stack is the product cloud. As we know, most of the students or researchers generally they try to develop their IoT hardware along with the connectivity, but they miss the main component of your IoT technology stack is that is the cloud. So basically, either you go through the cloud of someone else, just like the AWS, it is the Amazon Web Services, or Google Cloud, or you can go with the IBM Watson, or any other, even a free clouds are available. You go through either the separate clouds or from other vendors, or you may develop your own cloud and you can route your data through this cloud. So that is very important part of your IoT technology stack. So because when we have a product cloud is there, then this helps us to go with either the smart product application. We can develop different rules. You can have a different rules engine there. We can have a application platform, just like say your browser-based application, or you may have app-based application which may connect with your cloud and give you the data. Also, we can have a product data database, so it helps us to store complete data of your IoT hardware on your cloud. So this should not be missed in your IoT technology stack. This is a very important component in your IoT product. Okay. Then when we have this, all three stacks are available with us, then the another stack or the part that comes, that is called as a integration with the business systems. So whenever we have all these systems are connected together, that is the IoT hardware, connectivity, then the cloud, and then all these things now we can connect or integrate with our business systems. Now when we connect this complete stack with the business system, then we have external information sources are there, and this external information sources we can share through different gateways. Okay. Now, as we know, the important another criteria for this complete stack is the identity and the security, because these tools are going to manage user identification and the system access, and it is going to secure your product, it is going to secure your connectivity, and it is going to secure your cloud layers, because that is very means people, there are many experts available in the market, and they talk only on the security and the privacy issues in the hardware. As you are mostly aware that, as even yesterday some of the people, they said that they are working in this IoT area and they are working with so many different hardware design issues, and they know that we have such type of privacy and security issues there when we work with IoT. So all these parts or the blocks, when we combine together, that makes us our IoT technology stacks. And when we deal with any IoT product, every startup or an entrepreneur or what can say researcher has to think about all these stacks, okay, all these layers. Otherwise, it is less a simple product which is just connecting with the internet and giving you some data. That is not actually expected from any IoT hardware product. Okay. Now you can see when we have an idea in our mind, then generally we think about a product. Okay, but as a startup or researcher, you have to think about the system of systems. Why this is so? Because while selecting any hardware platform or while selecting any connectivity platform, you have to think about at what final level you have to go. Because if you select any connectivity at a particular level, and then at the last level you think that, oh, whatever your connectivity that you have selected or connectivity protocol that you have selected, which is not matching with the systems of systems or at the final stage. So that's why you should think about the connectivity platforms, even the hardware, and the different rules that you are making in your systems. Okay, so you can take this example. Simple example is there. Here is the we are making systems for the farm. So you can see here. Actually, we would like to make this one. That is the complete farm management system. So you can see here. This is a complete farm management system. Now this farm management system we have divided into some different parts. Okay, let we take an example of irrigation system. Then we have a seed optimization system. Then we have a weather system, and we have a farm equipment system is there. Now, what is the actually here we have to do? Whatever the farm management system is there, that has to combine together all these systems. So we can say that this is a system of system. Now we have to pick up one particular system and we have to develop it. Okay, we have to develop it. And now depending on what is your final complete product is there, that is a farm management system is there, depending on its features or its requirement, we have to select all the required controllers and the connectivities for a particular system. Okay, so connecting with the farm management system, your connectivity may be different, and connecting with the product in your system, that may be different. So let's like take an example. Here is the product, that is say one tractor we have or any device we have, and now when hold on. Hold on. Internet connectivity, I was out of the meeting. Yeah. So what actually we talk about? We talk about the IoT technology stack, considering the IoT hardware device, connectivity, product cloud, then different external sources, then the privacy security, and its integration with the business systems that we have seen. And we started with developing of the different systems. So if you take any example, so whenever you would like to develop any product, try to think about the complete final application where you have to develop or install your product. So just like as we are taking the example of farm management system, as we know, this farm management system we can work with the different application in the farm. Just like we can have the farm equipment system, we can work with the irrigation system, we can work with the seed optimization system, or we can work with weather data system, or even we can have another application in the farm. So all this is what your final application is there. Now out of this final application, what you have to do, we have to divide this complete final management system into different systems so that we can easily develop one particular application. So let's like we have divided in some different subparts here or subsystems here, and now you have to pick up one subsystem, and that subsystem we have to start developing. Okay, now while developing this complete subsystem, we have to think about where actually it is going to be connected with the final application. As we know that our final application here will be your farm management system. So therefore, whatever your final farm management system is there, obviously it will be connected with the cloud. Now we have to think about whatever the equipment or the farm equipment system that IoT that we are inculcating into the product. So we have to think about what type of connectivity is needed, okay, then what type of sensors it needed, and where the data that we have to store. So therefore, now we have to start with our product, that is the farm equipment, whatever the farm equipment is there. Then we have to think about what data you would like to collect. Okay, so depending on the features of your product, or depending on the data required to automate your complete system or to manage your complete farm, then whatever the data required for you, depending on that data, now you have to think about the different sensors. Now whatever the sensors are there, that sensors we try to connect with your product. Now what happens now, once we connect the sensors with your product, your product becomes a smart. Okay, but try to understand here, due to the adding the sensors does not make it a IoT enabled device. It just makes it's a smart, because whatever your physical hardware, okay, or mechanical hardware we had, that now becomes a smart, which is giving you the different, which is giving you, are you able to hear me? Yeah, thank you. So now whatever your smart product is there, that is giving you the some data. Okay, and now it is our task to make this device or whatever the farm equipment is there to be the IoT enabled, or we can say a connected product. So to give a name, that is the IoT enabled, or we can say a connected product, now we have to add the connectivity. Now we have to think about the location, the way of your equipment, what is the environment of your product is there, what type of the mechanical work that your product is going to do there. Okay, and depending on that, now we have to add the connectivity. So as if you have a farm is there or equipment is there, we know that it is continuously moving. So whether you would like to make automated farm equipment that has to do its own task, or you just want a manual equipment where you are just collecting some data, just like say you have a tractor is there, okay, and somebody a man is moving that tractor through a farm, but there are some sensors you are connected at the bottom which is collecting the your soil data. What is the nutrients are there? So such type of data you are collecting. In that case, your equipment is not the automated equipment, but whatever the data that we are collecting is now automated. Now, what is the another thing that we have to do? We have to connect our equipment for the smart product with the some cloud. Okay, so while connecting with the cloud, now we have to think about the our connectivity. Correct. So when we think about the connectivity, depending on your environment, now choose either the Wi-Fi, Bluetooth, or you may have LoRa, or you may think about Zigbee. So any type of connectivity. Even we can think about the just simple SMS based techniques, or you may think about the GPRS. So any type of techniques that you can think, and that connectivity you can add into your product. Now this is up to us how we are going to select, because there may be a possibility the man who is driving the tractor will have a mobile phone, and there is at the bottom of your tractor there is some sensors connected, and that data you would like to uh, want to send into a mobile phone which is having a tractor driver. So obviously there is no need to have LoRa or other technologies, because simple by using a Bluetooth or a hotspot or Wi-Fi technology with the mobile phone to your sensors, we can get that data. So this is what the simple connectivity technology that you can select at this location. Okay, and now once one product get developed, now develop the different equipments with, okay, once one product get a smart product, okay, then convert another equipments into a smart. So what will happen? We have a complete farm equipment system, okay, and then now try to develop other applications. So depending on other systems, we'll have a system of systems, correct? So basically, this is what the way generally we are using in developing different application in our research, as most of the faculty members with us and the research scholars, we are working with some of the industries, even the CDEC and the CSIR, and we are having the same approach that we are using. Okay. I request all the participants, if you have any questions, you can put in the chat box so that we can also discuss. So we'll think about the physical IoT architecture. So basically what happens? We have to think about two things. One is the device level and the another is network level. You can see here, this is what the IoT stack that I have shown. So these are the three levels that we have to think about. That is the IoT hardware, connectivity, and the product cloud. Okay, so generally the product cloud is the software-based IoT application development is a separate part generally people do. So generally most of the electronics engineer, computer science engineers, they think about these two parts. That is the IoT hardware device and its connectivity. So we have device level designing is there, and another is network level designing is there. So at the device level, we have a thing is there, that is any physical or mechanical hardware, and then we have a sensors and actuators, then we have a communication is there, or the connectivity devices are there. These connectivity devices are connected to a gateway, to the internet, through the gateway. So there will be another connectivity between your edge devices with the gateway, and from the gateway it is connected with the internet, and then it is connected with the servers. So that is what the complete flow is there for any IoT architecture. So this is I know most of you already know. Okay, so our main generally focus comes with this part, that is the development of a thing, a smart thing or a smart IoT device that we generally focus. That is, we have to pick up one controller. Generally, we have one idea, that is, we have to say one physical device is there, and we would like to make it IoT enabled. And when we have a such type of thing is there, we try to think about what type of microcontroller you want, and then you think about what type of sensors that you connect. Then we think about what type of connectivity should be there, because you would like to send that data to a particular internet or to a cloud. And then we think about what should be the gateway. Either you directly use your mobile phone as a gateway, or you may select your router, or you may select a Raspberry Pi as a gateway. So you have a different selection is there of your products in this location. Okay, so we'll talk about only this part. Okay, because we have another expert is there who is going to talk about this complete cloud-based systems for the IoT on 4th day. Okay, so whenever we try to develop this device level IoT enabled system, then we think about whether we have to go for, we have to make it, or whether we have to buy it. Correct? Because it is obvious question as every person comes. Shall we make a complete system, or shall we buy some of the system so that we can develop a prototype very fast? Okay. Whenever you make any system or any IoT product, you have to think about all such things. That is the power supply requirement, then what is its wireless subsystem, then what is the processor or controller subsystem, and different accessories, that is the sensors, actuators that are going to enhance your product operation. Okay, now all these parameters, if you, or all these subsystems, when we think about and when you do a complete literature of all these things, then you think about whether you have to make your a complete IoT product, or you have to buy some of these subsystems for your IoT product. Okay, that is very important. Otherwise, what happens now, even if you try to select a power supplies, then you have to think about so many things. Okay, when we go for developing any IoT product, there are so many other parameters are there apart from this. Just like we are having a regulatory considerations that have a significant question on whether you have to make or buy decision. Okay, then so all these things are going to have a substantial impact on your schedule. Okay, because suppose you have a timeline is there, within a 3 months or 6 months you would like to make your product. Okay, and in that case, so whether we have to make some of the part of your IoT product, or you have to buy some of the subsystems of your product, that you have to think about. Okay, otherwise, while making a complete subsystem of your IoT product, then there is a risk added, because whatever the subsystem that you are making your own may or may not work within the time period. Okay, and that may lead the risk to increasing the delay in the product delivery or product development. Okay, so when we consider the power supplies, now mostly as even yesterday we had a discussion with the Bothra sir that we should have batteries and connection nowadays people are using. Okay, so we have IoT devices are often generally battery powered. Okay, and most of these batteries are either lithium ion or the lithium polymer batteries. Okay, so while selecting any particular power management or battery, you have to think about few of the parameters. Just like we have operating temperature range. So basically, where your product is going to work, based on that, we have to think about what is the operating temperature is there, whether it is rechargeable batteries are there, or whether you are using one-time usable batteries. Also, what is the battery life is there, whether your battery is going to last for one year, 2 year, 3 year. So that also depends on your type of connectivity and the processor that you are selecting for your IoT product. Then is there any separate energy storage is there, or any energy harvesting part also you are using for your power supply? That also you have to think about. Okay, then we have to think about some wireless subsystems. So while selecting the wireless subsystems, either you have to make your own wireless subsystem, or you can directly utilize some original equipment manufacturer products. That helps, or that is the models that I think you know, That is, we have a Wi-Fi modules are available, we have a Bluetooth modules are available, we have a LTE WAN modules are available. So all these modules directly we can buy and we can connect them in your complete IoT product. This reduces the developing time or testing time of your IoT product. Okay. There are so many other parameters are there, just like your processor modules, and when we go with the processor subsystems, just like we have to think about what type of RAM, ROM, then we have what type of different protocols it is supporting, what are the hardware connections it is supporting. So many different things are there that we have to again think about. Therefore, any developer or any researcher has to think about all things, whether we have to make it or whether we have to buy it. Okay. So I'll give you one of the example here about the wireless subsystem, and let me compare. If you make it, what will be the different criteria there, and if you buy it, what will be the different criteria there, and how different hurdles you will have when you make your own wireless subsystem, and what easy or how fast you can develop your system when you buy some of the ready OEM wireless subsystem models. So let us take an example. So this is a custom wireless design where which you are trying to make your own, and another is you are directly buying a wireless module and you are adding that wireless module in your product. Okay, so let me try to think of one of the criteria, that is a component cost. Okay, so when we think about the cost, if you make your own custom wireless design, obviously the cost of your custom wireless design will be lower. But remember that when you make this design or custom system, that should be in a large quantity, then and then only it is going to be the lower your cost. Otherwise it is always will be higher than the wireless module that you are buying. Okay, but in case of if you use only a ready-made wireless modules for your product, which is in a already large quantity, then the cost of your wireless module is going to be higher. So you have to think about whether our quantity is in a large amount or whether you are just developing your prototype. So if you are simple developing your prototype, so as per our opinion, you should go with the buying the wireless module. Okay, and when you go for the large quantity, you should go with custom your wireless design. Then the physical design. So when we have making your own PCB, then custom wireless design gives you more flexibility. It gives you great space at in a constant design. So that is very good advantage. So whatever the system or IoT product that you are developing, if you have a space constraint is there, so obviously at the final stage you should go with your custom wireless design. And when you think about any wireless module integration, when you have a constant space designs are there, then obviously the wireless modules are more constant and modules form factor is fixed, because whatever the modules that we are buying, their area is fixed, their whatever the connections, pins and everything that is already fixed. So due to this, with that constant, we have to develop our own PCB. Now next we'll move to the development cost. If you try to make your own custom wireless design, obviously the development cost here is very high. Okay, but in case of buying OEM wireless module, then your development cost is very low. Okay, so that is why whenever if you are developing your idea, so So when we are doing a prototyping, we have to think about the buying OEM wireless modules. So design risk also, when you develop our own PCB layout, so there is a design risk when we have a custom wireless module is there. But in case of developing a PCB with wireless OEM wireless module, then generally we have a low risk is there. Why this is so? Because whatever the OEM wireless module is there, already it is tested for particular connectivity. Time to market, again, when we have a custom design, generally the longer time is there, whereas with OEM models, your time to market is shorter. Then the production test likely to require production line calibration with consequent test equipment capital cost. We have to have a complete production line so that we are having a custom wireless design development. But in case of buying a simple OEM wireless module, we don't think about all these things. Then the protocol verification, all these things we have to think about in case of custom design. In case of OEM design or OEM models, it is already certified by your vendors. Then different certifications, again, as a if you are making your own custom design, then all these permissions you have to take care of. Okay, you have to test your product and you have to get all this certification. But in case of taking or buying a OEM module, where the vendor is there or manufacturer is there of your OEM module, generally they take care of about all these certifications. Okay, so we don't think about all this certification while using all or making your own IoT product. If you are having components which are OEM models and which are already certified by their own manufacturers. And again, if you think about the wireless design, then we think about the antenna design. It is very difficult to develop the antenna design with the wireless or custom design. But in case of OEM model, it is already inbuilt, and so it reduces the development time, cost, everything for your IoT product. I hope you are understanding this, whether you have to make or buy a product. So if you consider this part, that is using OEM models, the most of the advantages are there. That is, your development cost is lower, design risk is lower, time to market is shorter, production test is also limited. Okay, then protocol verification already verified by the vendors or manufacturers, then certification already tested by your manufacturers. Okay, even antenna design or other parameters already done by your manufacturer or the vendors. So what is the, as a researcher, what we have to do? Generally, we have to go for buying the most of the models, not to make your own design. Okay, but once you test your prototype, obviously then you have to go for making your own custom design. Okay, so what is the prototyping platforms we have? So we understood that this prototyping platform proves the merit of your idea and the functionality to a smoothly running manufacturing setup. Okay, therefore it is very important to test our idea using prototyping platforms. Okay, and we have to, because we can modify so many functionality in the prototype itself. So when we go to the field or when we go to the final product, we try to get all the features from your prototype. Okay, so we'll come to our main part of this lecture, that is the how we can select the IoT prototyping hardware platforms. So I have divided in two types of these hardwares. One hardware for the node and the another hardware for the gateways. So when we select about the nodes mean the edges where our controller, which is going to collect the some data from your sensors, and the gateways which are generally connected with your clouds, which are connected with the internet. Okay, there may be option that some devices which may have act as a node as well as the gateway. Just like the Raspberry Pi, it acts as a node as well as gateway. Okay. So now if you see the example here, the Arduino, which is connected with some of the sensors and which is connected with some connectivity here, the Zigbee is there. So this part is going to be as a sensor node. Okay. And now this Zigbee, one of the Zigbee is connected with your Raspberry Pi. So you can say that whatever the data that we are sensing from the sensor node, we are sending it to the IoT gateway. Now this Raspberry Pi is connected with the local database and it is also connected with the cloud database through a internet connection. So this is going to be your IoT gateway. So you have a choice. I am not saying that this should be like this. So we should have a choice. Either you should select a particular controller for your sensor node, and also you can select a particular hardware for your gateway. Now remember that from this slide I am talking about the prototyping platform, where we have to buy a directly module for your development of particular IoT node and the IoT gateway. So what are the different components that we have to consider in case of when we have to select a particular hardware and software? So basically we have to think about specification development, then what is the conceptual design is there, then what is the prototyping and testing is there, and then we have to think about what is the time is there for developing your hardware and software, which is we are integrating into a network. Okay. So try to use platforms like this, just like Arduino Raspberry Pi, which allows us to rapidly develop our design, and it helps us to develop our product within a short period of time. So when we think about a particular IoT node, we have to think about 4 parameters. One, data acquisition and control. Then we have to think about what is the data processing and storage is there, and what type of connectivity your node is providing, and whether there is any power management is available. So depending on all these parameters, now we have to think about whether the hardware that you are selecting is having all these parameters, whether it supports the acquisition and control protocols. Just like there may be possibility your if you take an example of Arduino, it has only one I2C port, but it does not support multiple I2C ports. You have to go for different software libraries. But in case of if you go with the ESP32, it has a multiple I2C port, it has a multiple SPI ports, it has a different more number of analog pins. So again, it provides a good connectivity. It has a fast data processing than the Arduino. It also gives us separate memory, flash memory for the storage, and also the power management in the ESP32 is also good. Apart from this, it also provides the security protocols development itself in the controller. So if you compare simple Arduino and ESP32, then we understand that most of the parameters with the ESP microcontroller has richer than your Arduino. Okay. So let me think about the data acquisition and control. So what is this part is going to do? It gathers your either analog or digital data. Then we have to convert it into a digital if you have it analog, and then you have to process it and we have to analyze it. So to make the data acquisition from your development board, it has to be support some of the industry standard protocols. Just like for measuring the current, most of the industry protocols or industry hardware, just like your PLCs are there, they support the 420 milliamps of current sensing. So your hardware must also support such type of industry standard. Otherwise, it is very difficult for your IoT product to be developed or implement into the industry. Then different IoT protocol support, just like IoT, SPI, CAN, and other protocols that you have to think about, through which you have to connect with your sensors. Then the control that help us to automate your external devices. Okay, so therefore we have to again think about whether your controller or your platform is going to provide you digital output support, or it is also giving you the PWM based output support. Then we have IoT data processing and storage. As we know, uh, most of the IoT devices require a specific data processing, and it also needs a specific capability for storage of your data. Therefore, we have to also think about whether your prototyping platform is capable of processing your data within that speed or not, and also whether it has a particular data memory is available so that we can store our particular data at a local level, because every time it is not necessary that you can provide an internet connection to your node or connectivity to your node. Therefore, there should be a local storage capability available with your IoT prototyping platform, so that we can store some of the data in locally. Okay, and whenever we get the internet or the connectivity to your node, then at that time we can upload it to the cloud or to your gate. Okay, what helps? This help us to aggregate your data, to transmit your data, and to analyze your data. Therefore, this is very important part to think about of your IoT prototyping platform. Then, when we think about this processing and storage capability of your IoT platform, then obviously it helps us to process your data at locally, and only the data which is required or which is required for generating some rules at a cloud level, or to generating some alarms at the cloud level, that only we can send at the cloud. Okay, that help us to reduce the analysis cost at the cloud level. Whatever the machine learning, AI algorithm that we are developing at the cloud side, so getting the limited data or less data from your node itself increases the speed of your analysis. So therefore, generally people do one thing, that is the edge analytics. So at the edge itself, we do the analytics. Why this is so? Because when we do everything at the cloud, it is very difficult for the Indian scenario. Just like the farm application, we know that whether you'll get the internet in your farm or not, generally that we don't know, correct? Even most of the time people think about the smart helmets or smart bike or the car application, and we know that in most of the part of your Indian region, the internet is not available, and in such case it is very difficult for to directly send data to the cloud and then process it. So what we have to do, we have to analyze the data at the node itself. That is, we are calling as the edge analytics. And while doing this edge analytics, the processing capability and the storage capability of your prototyping platform should be, or whatever the hardware or controller that we are selecting, should have a good processing and storage capability. Then the connectivity, obviously, as I have said, whatever, think about what is your final application. And when we think about the final application, then select the top-down approach. That is, whatever your final approach is, whatever your final application is there, in that final application, this is what the connectivity should be. Connectivities are available. And whatever the connectivities are available, depending on your application, now that connectivity you have to select in your controller application or controller prototype platform. Okay, so as already in the last lecture we had different prototyping or connectivity platforms we are seeing. That is the 802.11 Wi-Fi. We have Bluetooth, RFID, cellular networks are there. Or nowadays we are talking about LPWAN, and there is a proprietary some of the connectivities are available, just like the Sigfox and NB-IoT is there. LoRa, nowadays people are implementing mostly for the application where the data rate is very less and the connectivity range is large. And also people can think about the wired communication. Mostly it is suited for the stationary devices, and where we think that whatever your final application or data management is there is at the one location itself. Therefore, we should have think about also wired communication, just like a smart building or a smart industrial control application within the particular premises, where we can directly use the Ethernet, or we can go with RS485 application, or we can also go with the CAN. Even a smart car, if you would like to develop, then we can have this type of wired communication can be used. This is one of the hardware that already you know. This is a OEM model that is of Raspberry Pi, and we know that it supports the Bluetooth. It also supports the Ethernet. It supports the Wi-Fi. Okay, and it also supports different wired communication through USB. The another very important criteria is the power management, because even though you are using your prototyping platform, so you have to think about whatever the prototyping platform is there, whether it is supporting the power management rules or not. As nowadays most of the hardware platforms, whether from the STM, whether from the Intel or Analog, all are supporting the power management rules in the your controller, and this we can make them into a sleep mode for a particular time period, so that we can reduce the power consumption of your prototyping platform, and that can last for or it also increases the life of your battery. So while selecting any microcontroller prototyping platform, so you have to think about two type of things, as I have said, at the node level and the gateway level. So if you think about only a node level devices, think about the microcontroller development boards. And when we think about the gateway level boards, then think about the single board computers. Nowadays, even the microcontroller development boards comes with the inbuilt capability with the connectivity. Only the problem with the microcontroller development board is that they come with the limited processing capability, and along with they come with limited storage. Therefore, single board mini computers gives you this advantage. It gives you the more processing capability, and it gives you more storage. Along with, there are so many advantages are there, just like you can create your own GUI, that is a graphical user interface, or easily you can develop different application that you would like to develop on a cloud itself. So let's take an example here while selecting a particular simple microcontroller development board here. So I have compared here three devices, one Arduino, another is a particle electron, and the another is ESP8266 Mode MC. I can see here I have whatever the parameters that we have discussed in the last slides, that is the data acquisition, data processing, connectivity, power, and few other devices are just like the cost. Now these all four parameters or five parameters we have compared with these three devices. If you do this comparison for your device, whatever the different prototyping platforms are available in the market, then easily you can understand whether whatever the prototyping platform they are module you are using for your application, is it suitable for your application or not. Okay, so just like here, if you take the feature one, that is the how many GPIO pins are there. So when we as we see, there is an Arduino board. How many pins we know? Generally, it has a 6 analog and 14 digital pins are there. Out of this 14, 6 can be used as a PWM. But when we go to the particle electron, it has a 12 analog pins are there. Apart from this, it supports 2 analog out. Okay, Then it has 30 digital pins and it gives you 13 PWM pins. So that is good advantage there in terms of GPIO pins. And if you think about the ESP8266, it has only 12 digital and only one analog pins there. So if you need more analog pins, so you have to think about Arduino or the Particle. If you think about you need more number of digital pins, you have to think about the Particle, and also you can go with the Arduino or ESP8266. Correct? Then the logic level, the Arduino and Particle, the Arduino generally supports the 5 volt, whereas the Particle and ESP8266 goes with 3.3 volt. Let's think about the data processing speed and the storage capability of the microcontrollers available on these boards. As we know, the processor available on the Arduino, it comes with the Atmega 328, whereas the processor available on the Particle, that comes with the 32-bit STM ARM Cortex M3, whereas on a ASP8266 it comes with the 32-bit Tensilica L1106. Now, see here. So these are the so generally we know the Atmega 328 comes with the 8-bit processor only. So with the processors available on a Particle and ASP8266 have the more bit processor there, and these both controllers are very fast than your Atmega 328. As you can see, the processor speed, if you compare these boards, the Particle runs at around 120 megahertz, and your Node MCU runs at around 80 megahertz, whereas the Arduino generally runs at 16 megahertz. Okay, so that is not a 16, correct? So that runs around 8 megahertz to 16 megahertz. So we have very less speed is there for your Arduino, whereas in case of particle board or the Node MC board, the processing speed is very high. Now let's think about how much storage is available for developing your code and storing your data. So in case of Arduino, we have a 32 kilobytes of flash and 1 kilobytes of EEPROM is available. But in case of Particle, now see, we have almost 1 MB of flash is available and 128 bytes of RAM is available. Now in case of Node MCU, only a flash of 1 MB is available. So again, depending on the application, we have to think about whether the required memory is sufficient for your application or not. And when we think about the connectivity, generally the simple Arduino Uno board does not come with any type of connectivity. Nowadays, we have a Arduino board comes with the connectivity also, but their cost is compared with the Particle and Node MCU is very high. Okay, so as we know, the Particle Electron comes with integrated cellular modem. That is, it has inbuilt 2G and 3G modem is there. So we don't need extra gateway. Directly we can connect with internet through this 2G, 3G modem available on your Electron. Okay. In case of Node MC, we have an integrated Wi-Fi is there. If we even compare ESP8266, ESP32, we have an integrated LoRa and integrated Wi-Fi is also integrated Bluetooth is also available. Now, in case of power, generally around 400 to 500 milliwatts of power your Arduino generally consume. But in case of Particle, Electron, and your Node MCU, they consume around 50 to 100 milliwatts of power. So their power requirement is less as compared to your Arduino. So now you have to think about what is your requirement of your application is there. Okay. Also, you have to think about what is the optional components available in your lab. Okay, because sometimes what happens, Arduinos may be available in your labs. Okay, and you are just testing whether your idea works or not. To test whether your idea works or not, it is not necessary to go with the higher cost prototyping platform. Once your idea works with any lower cost prototyping platform, now select higher end models, higher end prototyping models. Then again you have to test your idea whether it works with your higher end prototyping models or not. It gives you the superior features than your previous stage. And once you are okay with your this stage, now you can develop your custom design. Because you can see here the comparison of typical cost. Generally, Arduino comes with the $20. Then the Node MC comes with the $10. Okay, these are the cost in terms of original boards. But if you buy OEM boards, that is generally their costs are lesser than this. Now, if we compare a few boards here for the gateways, now I compared here the Raspberry Pi, BeagleBone, and the Dragon board. Okay, actually, I have compared in the same category of boards because I am not comparing with the mini computers with the microcontroller board. So here I am just comparing the mini computers. Okay, that comes under the Raspberry Pi, BeagleBone. Then we have Intel and Dragon boards like this. So you can see here, so many nowadays these mini computers comes with the different GPIO pins and logic levels. They come up with very good processors. They have very good processing speed and memory storage, as well as the processing memory. Then they come up with so many different protocols like Wi-Fi, Ethernet, or that is a connectivity interfaces. They come up with so many power management systems, and depending on the cost, now we have to go. So, and while selecting the mini computers for your application, very important part is the community support available. Because what happens most of the times, researchers or the students or the faculty generally will tell the student that you do this application and buy something. And such type of generally applications are nowadays available on the internet, and we try to develop that application. As we know that the hardwares nowadays are coming in the market are updated one. Even the softwares on which your hardware are running, they also come with the updated software stacks. So what happens now? Sometime whatever the ready code is available on the internet, they start giving you some of the errors, and at that time you stuck, because just like if you see a Dragon board, its community is very less. But in case of BeagleBone, its community is also larger than your Dragon board. But if you think about the Raspberry Pi, it has the largest community on the internet. So if you stuck at a particular level, then easily you can get whatever your issue or problem is there, and you can get the solution for it. So always the question comes, people most of the times the students, the researcher, or the people ask me this question, whether to buy or go for a microcontroller prototyping platform, or whether we have to go for a single board mini computers. So I will not say that you have to go with the microcontroller prototyping platform or single board computer prototyping platforms. Okay, because depending on your application and the device itself has their fundamental differences, because the use of the single board mini computers is different and the use of microcontroller development boards is different. Therefore, it has already fundamental differences are there. Therefore, we cannot compare directly them. Okay, and both these boards, that is a single board mini computers and your microcontroller prototyping platform, have a good prototyping capability, and therefore we have to think about whether to go with the single board computers or the microcontroller development boards. Only the advantage with the single board mini computer is that it gives you more onboard features. So if you need more onboard features, then obviously you have to go for the single board mini computer. Otherwise, if you don't want to develop your own GUI on the microcontroller itself, because you have already cloud is there, on the cloud itself your complete application is developed, you just want a data from your node. So why to go for a single board computer? So go for microcontroller prototyping platform, connect the sensors to it, add the connectivity to it, get the data, process some of the data, analyze it at the node itself, and whatever the required data is there, try to send it to your cloud. And whatever your AI ML application you have developed on a cloud, you can process it there. So what are the criteria that you can use when you're selecting a development board or mini computer? So do this one. Step 1, you can have determine the type and number of peripherals and the sensors or output devices that you want to connect with your system. Then whether your single board microcontroller microcontroller development board or a single board mini computer is capable to connect with these sensors or not, because nowadays whatever the sensors that are in the market, they support different protocols through which, because they are digital in nature, and through a particular protocol or hardware protocol we have to get the data from your sensors. Therefore you have to also think about whether your mini computer or the single board your microcontroller board is going to coordinate with your sensors or not. Then you have to think about what are the different data communication protocols are there, so that you can connect with your actuators and sensors. And then finally, what is the networking hardware or communication protocol it is going to support, so that we can add the connectivity with your IoT product. I hope you are understanding this one. So I'll give you some of the examples here. Can you put one message in a chat box whether I am audible to all of you? I request all of you, if you have any questions, you can put in a chat box, so that I'll give you the right to unmute your, so that you can ask the questions by unmuting yourself. So let us take an example of a wearable hardware platform. So this is another area where people are developing their IoT products. So depending on the application, you have to think about your wearable hardware platform. So just like whether you are developing your health and fitness application, or whether you have to develop augmented and virtual reality, or whether you are developing your device for lifestyle, or whether you are developing a device for motion capture. So basically, type of application decides what type of wearable hardware platform that you are going to use. So agriculture, medical, military grade. So depending on this type of your uses, we can have select a particular wearable hardware platform. So what are the different characteristics that we have to think? That is, obviously when we think about the low wearable devices, we have to think about it has to support low power design. It must have energy efficient connectivity protocols. It must have power management strategy in controller or your device itself. It should have a battery connectivity, and it should have a human factor. That is, it should not have a risk to your human body. So all these parameters you have to think about while developing your wearable device, and all these parameters should be supported by your wearable device hardware platform. So we know that low power design. So this is very important factor when we consider developing our own wearable device, that is the power consumption, correct? So as we know, when we do a wearable devices for your medical purpose, then there are so many complex things are there. Just like we can measure so many health related data. So we have a SpO2 there, heart rate is there, or we may track the a person. So while doing all these things, it consumes more battery. Okay, so you have to also think about how many parameters that you are measuring from your wearable device. So you have to think about what type of devices are connected, how much time the battery is going to last, and what type of power management system is there, so that your battery should last for longer duration. So the best way is that whatever the controller that we have on a wearable device must have a low power design. So obviously, if it is a low power design, then obviously it is going to consume low power, and automatically the power requirement of your complete system may be less. And due to this, it allows us to make your battery last for longer duration. We have to use the energy efficient connectivity protocols. Why this is so? Because if you even just consider the Bluetooth 2, okay, or the Bluetooth 4.0, they consume more power. But if you consider the Bluetooth 5, now it consumes very less power, thanks to the beacons used in the Bluetooth 4 and Bluetooth 5, because it connects whenever you send the data. Other time it remains in a correct. It remains in a sleep mode, so it consumes less power. You know that nowadays we have a Bluetooth based remote controls are there for your TVs, and you know that these remotes last for uh, 1 year to 2 years. You know that even there is no button to switch off your remotes, still they are lasting for 1 year to 2 years. Why this so? Because whenever you press a button, then and then only it activates your Bluetooth and sends the data. Otherwise it remains in a sleep mode. So that is what the advantages are there. For energy efficient protocols are there. Even we have a Wi-Fi is there, so you have to select a particular Wi-Fi. Either you have to go for 2.4 gigahertz or 5 gigahertz connectivity. As we know, the 5 gigahertz provides you the large bandwidth, but its power consumption is very large as compared to 2.4 gigahertz. But the 2.4 gigahertz gives you less bandwidth. It gives you large range. Okay, then you should select right power management so that our batteries should last for a longer duration. So either depending on the space and the space constraint available with your device, you have to select either the lithium ion batteries or lithium polymer batteries. And the last, the human factors, whether any hazards are going to be caused by your wearable device. So that also we have to think, because you have to also think about whatever the connectivity protocol that you are using, whether Wi-Fi, Bluetooth is there, whether its emissions are going to harm your body. So that also you have to think. So while getting your OEM module for your wearable device, that is the prototyping module for your wearable device application, you have to check whether all the certifications, just like the FCC, then your UE, so all this or any medical certifications are there that are certified by your vendor or not. Otherwise, if you put all such type of wearable device OEM model in your product, that may be cause the harm to your body. And the another problem will occur that if you launch your product, then you have to go through some of the regulatory guidelines, and you have to test your product finally. This is the example I have given here. That is the RSL 10 model from the ON Semiconductor Devices. Now you can see the size is only 1 centimeter by 1 centimeter. So this size, total size is only 1 centimeter. And now this 1 centimeter size, what are the things it is giving you? It gives you lowest power Bluetooth low energy device inbuilt in this, that is the RSL 10. It has motion sensing and data processing, that it consists of 3-axis accelerometer, 3-axis gyroscope. It has a programmable microcontroller is there. So you can have all these things on board. Then we have a digital geomagnetic sensor. Then we have a integrated environmental sensor for mobile and wearable application. It has ambient light sensor. Now we see the size of this device. Easily you can fit this module or this prototyping module in your wearable device for the product that you are developing. So I think developing a wearable device with your own custom design will be difficult now, but if you use this prototyping development board or kit in your application, this is giving you the rapid testing of your wearable device. And obviously whatever the product that you are launching, the time to market will be very less. Correct? I will not go much more insight into the different features of this development board. This is the another application that I'm showing here. This is the Rockzik IoT prototyping and development platform, which is already available in the form of smartwatch. Okay, so what any type of smartwatch that you would like to develop, that you can design by using this platform. So why to develop your own custom design initially? Try to go with this platform, develop your own smartwatch, and now then finally develop your own custom design so that you'll have your own product. So you'll see how many things it is going to offer. It offers so many sensors, accelerometer, gyroscope, then magnetometer. It also supports low cost, low power Bluetooth 5. Okay, then it has a different heart rate sensor, barometer, magnetometer. So many sensors are also connected. So and on board there is a controller which you can program yourself. Which it has a display. So whatever the GUI that you would like to develop, that you can develop your own. And finally, they also provide you the cloud. So easily you can integrate the data with the cloud through this smart watch prototyping platform. Easily, they have provided different application also to develop your own Android app, Python CLI or Windows GUI, so that you can create your graphical user interface through app or some browser-based application to get the data from your cloud. So what actually I mean to say that whenever such type of already tested OEM models are available, then my personal opinion is that try to go with this prototyping platform. This helps us to rapidly test your application and to develop your product. So within a limited time, limited span of time, we can develop your product and you can launch into the market. So these are so many different features which are available with this Rockzik's IoT prototyping platform. There are so many different applications are there where you can use this model. So I'm done with my presentation here. Now I would like to go for the question and answer session. So I request the participants, if you have any questions, you can directly unmute yourself and you can ask me. I have given a right to unmute yourself. Or you can put your questions in the chat box also. Yeah, somebody has question is there from Mr. Pawan. That is, shall we start with the ESP32 development model for IoT? Yes, obviously. Why this is so? When we compare the cost with the Arduino Uno or Node MCU ESP8266, if you compare the cost, their cost is almost same. Okay, generally 826 comes with the lower cost around 200 to 300 rupees, but ESP32 model also, the OEM models, I am talking about the OEM models. The OEM model of ESP32 also comes around the rupees of 400. So as we compare with the Arduino, obviously the ESP32 cost is lesser than your Arduino boards. The another advantage is that now it provides you the connectivity. The another things is that it provides more processing speed and storage capability. So there are so many advantages are there. Either that you have to go with ESP32. The problem with the ESP32 development model is that the community available for Arduino is very larger than the community of ESP32. So the support available for Arduino is very large. Gurpreet Singh, would you like to ask a question? We are not audible. Gurpreet ji, your voice is not clear. Will you please put your question in the chat box?